you would do a,
One quick second, just waiting for it to roll in.
Alrighty.
There we go. We're in business, Mike.
if you would do a roll call, please.
Yes. In attendance this evening, we have Roland Mayhew, Richard Body, Jane LaRoche, Michael Dellavecchia, Michael Foote,
Here.
Marcia Hayward,
Here.
and from planning, myself, Scott Pelchat. I'll be acting as the recording secretary this evening.
Thank you. Yes. Everybody get a chance to review the minutes from the last month?
Affirmative.
Yes.
Any questions, concerns?
Nope.
I'll listen to a motion to accept, please.
Make a
Make
motion that we accept the minutes as written.
Thank you, Richard.
I'll second.
And Marcia, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Moving right along. Extensions, nothing tonight?
Correct, no extensions this evening.
Thank you. Okay. So first on the agenda is 92 Water Street. Is somebody here? Come up and tell us how we can help you, sir.
Yes, how you doing? I'm here to apply for a variance to put a shed roof off the side of my house next to the old city-owned Pearly Court.
What is your name?
Warren Cook.
Hey, do you live at that house?
I've been there for 30 years.
Time flies and you're having fun. That's a lovely spot right there on the waterway, I'll
It's a
tell you.
sweet little spot, it is.
You've got waterfront property, probably at a bargain price.
Well, 30 years ago it was.
You know,
30 years.
That's a fair point.
just a very nice place right there, I'll tell you.
You don't get the waterfront taxes, and as long as the water's not too high, I can get out to the lake.
I was out there looking at it, and the city-owned property, is that a sewer line or a
That's the
drainage?
sewer line that runs down there. I went down and measured it the other day. It's about an 18-inch pipe.
Where's this sewer line go? Is it
It comes
go
down
into
Water,
the
comes
water
down
and
Water
right
Street and
across?
just drains into the river.
It goes across the river to the other side. Okay, all right.
Point of note, it's not a sewer line, it's a
Storm drain.
storm drain.
Storm drain, thank you.
Fair point.
I was curious about that. All right. 'Cause
Basically, I'm gonna be within 2 feet of the city property line instead of meeting the 5-foot setback.
yeah. But seeing the open area right there, you're not like on top of somebody else's house.
Oh, no, not at
So,
all.
I don't.
I'm still gonna be some 18 feet away from the Riverwalk even.
Very good. Very good. Any questions from staff on this matter?
So I'm looking at this drawing and I'm trying to figure out where you're gonna put this carport. Is it next to this white?
No, up on
structure?
where the red roof is, off the same side there.
Okay.
Where the
and
car is
Where the
parked?
car is.
Yes,
And the size of your carport that
it's
you
gonna
want?
be 12 feet out from the building.
12 feet out from the building, so therefore it comes within 2 feet of
Of the
this
city
yellow
boundary line.
boundary.
Right.
Okay. And Scott, you had DPW out there.
Yeah.
Can you fill us in on what they said?
Yes, so DPW and myself were out there today, and I was out there yesterday with Mr. Cook. We found, myself and DPW, it is a 15-inch drainage pipe stemming from the middle of Water Street down to the river. The location where he wants to put the posts in, from what I saw, was 3 to 4 feet away from where that pipe would be on the line down. So he has a good substantial amount of room. In the easement is written about the fence and the fence post. The fence post is far closer to the pipe than the post will be for the carport. In the easement, it also reads that if that fence were to be damaged, if the city needs to go out, Mr. Cook would be responsible for repairing his own property. DPW referenced that same idea today. So if the city needs access, we'll always have that, but Mr. Cook will be responsible if there is damage to the carport. If that
Yes.
would be
Yeah,
agreeable with
that's
you.
agreeable with me.
Does that need to be written into this variance as a condition?
It,
Do you think?
it should be.
Yeah.
I would.
I
It should be, because then it'll ride with the variance.
Mm-hmm.
I
fine.
I have a question as I look at it, and is that easement, is that something that has been granted to the city of Laconia from that piece of property?
That piece of property at Pearly Court, the city didn't even know they owned until the survey was done for West Beacon Street. I'd been using that as my yard for 10 years prior to that.
Yeah.
And the river walk, or the city-owned side, has an easement on the other side of this parcel as well. And they created that river walk within that same easement. But that's just pavement, that's not a true structure.
Well, on the other side of that are also some power lines. Is there an easement from Unitil or Eversource or a utility company? Do you know?
I have no idea what's
There's
on the other
power
side.
lines right on the
Yeah,
other
I
side.
have no
of the-
idea
yes.
what's on the other side of the fence there.
So I'm looking at the GIS right now, and there's that piece of, again, I can't get it to load up right now for whatever reason. So there's an easement right there that, again, this would be for the board members, this narrow strip right here. This is an easement, is it a city? It is a city easement, this narrow
Shared
strip here?
between the old Allen Rogers, the city, and Mr. Cook.
Understood, fair enough, fair point.
What property is it actually on?
It's actually on Pearly
It's on-
Court,
yeah,
which
it's
is
on 3.
still city-owned.
Okay.
It was never abandoned under the Hampshire State law. the way it
Pearly
should have
Court
been.
then, this thing over here?
It's the little loop,
All right.
Where's that, Mike? What are you talking about, Pearly Court?
Is this
Oh,
Pearly
that-
Court? How
I
far
thought
out does
that
it go?
was, Okay. That's the apartment building.
no, I see Landing Lane, I don't see a Pearly Court anywhere.
That's because Pearly Court was never claimed by the city.
Yeah.
Back to when this was
It's an
Meredith
old,
Bridge.
Okay, here we go.
Also known as.
The house next door to me is 1780. My house is 1887.
Because the Pearly Court is referenced in the deed language.
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
you, no, understood.
Yeah.
Very good.
Understood.
So,
So,
But to your question, Marcia, we could definitely add that as a condition to the.
I would, yeah.
Yeah.
so, just a question for my iteration. Are these posts for the carport going to be in this easement,
Within 2 feet.
No, they'll still be on my property.
Yeah.
Within-
right, but not into
Yeah,
this
they'll be a good
easement?
3, 4 feet, 2 feet away from the easement,
Yeah.
from the boundary line of the easement,
Perfect.
and 4 to 5 feet away from the actual pipe.
How wide is that? I'm trying to
What's
look.
left of Pearly Court's 12, 13 feet.
Hmm.
I've been using it as a driveway for 30 years.
Yeah,
Yep.
sure.
very good.
But if the city comes in and had to do some work and your carport got damaged, you
Yeah,
would.
I
that's-
take care of it,
yeah,
no problem.
that's the way
You
it-
wanna write it into the variance, that's fine with me.
absolutely, Yeah, I would, but I'm only
Any
one
other
person.
questions for Mr. Warren?
No, I have a good understanding of it. It seems
Yeah,
to
the
be.
pipe can't be that deep right there anyway.
Right. And since I'm not hearing any thing from the city here, I'd support it.
Very good. Warren, have a seat, please. I have to ask if there's any members of the public that would like to speak for or against the application. In honor of Steve Bogart. Countdown. Seeing that there's no opposition, I support this variance. Is there, somebody would make a motion?
We're board conversation now?
Mm-hmm.
So they've got, yeah, I'm in favor. Yep. It's,
It makes sense.
he's got his lane that is city, and that's all, even right on the other side of that, there must be an easement of some kind on that adjacent property.
Yeah, it's a
Or
spill,
the power- what's that?
spillover. It spills over from the main easement.
Sure.
There's like a buffer,
Understood, yeah.
is the closest
Right.
narrative I can get to it,
Right.
so.
Yeah, so I don't see any issue with
Good.
this at all. Yeah.
Can I hear a motion in favor of this with the stipulation that we're not responsible for any damage that might be incurred in the future?
What do you think, what would be the best way to word that?
Mr. Cook assumes that the city will use due diligence and if they have to, get in there and dig up that pipe, but, if there is any damage to the fence or carport, the city is not responsible.
Right,
for
they've got to
that.
dig up in order to be able to repair or replace that pipe.
Yeah.
They will do their, right, so, I don't know, Mike, any thoughts on that? What the verbiage, how we put that in there?
Not exactly, but certainly, you know,
I think-
recognizing the encroachment or the
Proximity, it's actually more proximity than encroachment.
right,
For sure.
exactly.
Alright. I make a motion,
You
Rob?
can't, he's not a voting member this
oh,
evening?
I'm,
Oh,
You get
Hate
some
when that
Awesome.
happens.
rest.
where's my
and
beer?
I,
Where's
and
my
I
beer?
like that attitude too. Good Lord. All right, you wanna play?
You're up.
Whatever you wanna do.
To you. Okay. This is ZO 20240041. We're looking for a variance for a side setback to build a carport. What we have is an easement that has been utilized by Mr. Cook for some time, and the carport will come close to the edge of the easement, but not encroach on the easement. And we could speak that the city, could possibly need to, access that because of stormwater issues. And if there were any, damage to structure that, and the city using due diligence and care, Mr. Cook would be, responsible for repairing his own structures.
Thank you for that motion, Mr. Foote. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Right.
Thank you, folks. Mr. Cook, thank you. Enjoy your carport.
Thank you very much.
Those are nice and
All right, moving right along, 125 White Oaks. Are they here tonight? How do you do, sir?
Good, how you doing? Good evening. My name is Eric Eisner. I live at 125 White Oaks Road in Laconia. I'm here to seek a variance for my rear setback for a addition to my current residence. I stood before you guys about 3 or 4 years ago for a front variance for a pavilion that was built on the
Yeah.
property. And when I contacted the planning department, I spoke with Scott, and he came out and informed me that I did not have a 50-foot extension that I needed in order to do this, so that's why I'm here tonight. In February, I got a permit to renovate my kitchen and my bathroom, which were basically connected. We were taking out the bathroom and making the kitchen larger because it was only a 9x8 kitchen with a 6'5" ceiling. So it didn't really give us a lot of, we didn't have any modern amenities like a dishwasher or anything like that. So we did the kitchen, which we finished just recently. I have a picture of it. But now we were told that we could put a bathroom in where we have a very tiny bathroom. We could extend to the rear of the house, inside the house, but another plumber told me that it's not gonna be adequate enough for a family. We have, my wife and I have 5 children, and my wife has 3 children.
God
And
bless
I
you.
have 1 grandchild. So the bathroom facilities are not adequate enough. So that's why we thought we could add an addition to the back of the house for a full-size bathroom and an office, because my wife works at home. And that's why I'm here, because I don't have the 50 feet that I need. I only have 45.
Very good, Eric. Any questions from staff? or-
So basically, if I'm understanding, that little cutout alcove that's between your, I'm guessing it's a garage and your home, you're basically just filling that in.
Yes,
That
it's,
little-
it's,
yeah, yeah,
the new addition, if granted, is not gonna go any further than the original
Understood, fair
structure.
enough. So guys, just to clarify, he's got this little, so this is his home, there's a garage here, his home. There's this little notch that kind of extends between. He's basically filling in that notch. It stays even with the back of the house.
Right?
right?
I have a
And it's filling in, yeah, exactly, filling in
good
that,
picture.
that cutout in the back. So there's the plane of the garage and the plane of this, adjacent part of the building. And it's gonna be, I'm guessing that you're gonna keep the back plane of the structure even right across.
Right straight across,
go.
even. It's not
Okay,
gonna
understood. Thank
protrude
you.
out any further.
Yep, understood.
Wasn't that a corner lot?
No.
Isn't there a dirt road on coming off White Oaks Road?
There's the road, if you're looking at the house, the road to the left is New Hope. I believe that's a dirt road.
Yeah.
And then there's a
I remember
driveway
when
to
you
the
came in here 3
tiles.
years ago.
Yeah, so I did a pavilion on the right side of the house, and I didn't have the setback from the street,
Sure.
and you had granted that at that time, so.
So this just to fill in the house, lining it up?
Yeah, just to add a nice bathroom for a big family and an office so my wife can be comfortable while she works.
There you go, nothing wrong with that. God bless working with.
Any further questions for Eric? Anybody? Eric, have a seat for a brief moment, please.
Thank you.
I'll ask if there's any members of the public who would like to speak for or against this application. Seeing none, I don't see an issue with this addition.
So back to the board?
Pardon me?
We're back to the board now?
Yes.
Okay.
I have no issues. It's 45 feet instead of 50 is not a big deal. It's just filling in the space. It's not going any closer to the rear setback than existing home.
And
So-
in the new RR2 zone, it's currently pre-existing non-conforming anyway.
Right.
So I'm also in favor. Yep.
So,
I'll be glad to make a motion.
thank you, Marcia.
Oh, you're welcome. I'd like to make a motion on application 202024-0041 to grant a variance from Article 6, Section 235-35 to allow for a setback of 45 feet rather than 50 feet. Number one, that the variance does not alter the character of the neighborhood because the addition will not extend beyond the existing house and garage. And if this is not going to affect the character of the neighborhood, then number two, then the request is not contrary to the ordinance, so therefore the ordinance is being upheld. Number three, substantial justice is done because the addition, again, is not causing any harm to the general public by just extending or filling in the back portion of the house. Number four, values of surrounding properties. There's no evidence that the value will increase or decrease the values of the neighborhood. And number five, the proposal use is a reasonable one.
Thank you, Marcia.
I will second.
Thank you, Jane. Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Eric, enjoy your new addition. Thanks
Good luck,
for
bud.
coming in
Thank you.
tonight. Scott, we make just a little amendment on the first one that we did on Water Street, just say the
Yeah.
findings of fact as stated in the application.
Yeah.
We didn't
There were
go-
no findings of fact stated in the application.
Do you want,
Because it's the right thing to do.
would you prefer to use your statement
through them all.
on how, if there is damage? I think if we use yours as the piece at the end of that, we'll be fine.
Very good. Thank you. All right. We are in jet speed here tonight. It's 57 Gables Drive, South Down Shores. Are we here tonight? Come on up, folks. Tell us how we can help you. Hello, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Eileen Wiffle, and we are the agents of the owners.
Okay.
I don't see that.
That's a problem.
No, the owner did reach out to me via email, said his parents would be speaking for him by proxy. He's tied
You
up
should
in
have
a-
said it was your child.
He's tied up in a
Okay.
meeting.
Scared me
and,
when you said you were an
Okay.
Asian.
There's no end to it.
Go ahead, Eileen. Tell us how we can help.
I believe that we need approval for our son to be able to occasionally rent out his lake house.
Yeah, he needs a special exception. So Eileen, this has to be owner occupied for less than 150 days. Is that the case?
With a special exception, no, it won't.
Right, for
It
the
won't.
special exception.
Yeah. and
Because they're
that's why
going,
they need
because
this
they will
one
have to meet
over.
the,
Yeah.
last month, they will have to meet those other list of requirements, right?
I take it your son lives in
North
Andover,
Andover,
Mass? Is that
North Andover.
North Andover?
Yes.
Okay. I'm looking at the parking schematic here. Where's the house on there? This is like a,
Yeah, it's one of the villages down in Southdown, so on those, it's hard to define the parking. We will capture that during the permitting process, though, downstairs, when, if they are granted the special exception, they
Uh-huh.
will have to come back for the subsidiary permit as
Exactly.
well.
okay. And it's allowed
It
in that
is.
condo association?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions for Miss Eileen?
And we're seeing that you have permission from Southdown Recreation Association, and that's
Yes.
all?
I guess his paperwork is stellar.
Wow.
And
That's
they
my
have to
boy.
submit this to Southdown before they can go forward. That the
Okay.
city of Laconia granted them
All right.
the special exception.
Just wouldn't get into a Southdown fluff again.
So Scott, do we have to go through the criteria for the
Yes.
special exception, right?
You can.
Yes.
The only difference from the other one that we had mentioned, the other application, has two different definers at the bottom, but there would be no way that a first
Right.
allowed would be able to meet those
Right.
anyway. One is the 5-year thing,
Right, and the other is
Yeah.
granting it
yeah, community benefit. so-
community benefit, yeah. Well, in a way, you could maybe do the other one with community benefit,
You could make a case for,
yeah.
but then it becomes opinionated and subjective.
So you would leave that condition off then?
We are looking into those two applications to see the nuances between the two, to see which one will move forward in the future. for
So
the
what do we
special
do
exception.
tonight?
You can use the special exception criteria off the current application, because just those last two are not there.
So do you want to see if the public,
Yes. Eileen, you could have a seat now, please.
Oh, thank you.
Are there any members of the public that would like to speak for or against this special exception before us tonight? Seeing no takers, we'll discuss it amongst the board. It seems like they're prejudiced against Motorcycle Week here. They have a special thing in there for
That's-
regular renters and
that's
then
in
Motorcycle
there.
Week.
yeah?
Yeah, it is fun
know
how they
them
have that
bikers.
in there.
Mhm.
Scott, Director, question. How, in this community, in South Down Shores, how many STLs are currently,
I would say currently I have 5. I have 2 in
That's
the
it?
Gulf Village, I have 2 in the Gables, and
Right.
there's one other one,
wow,
which I can't,
Wow.
the address escapes me now.
understood. So
So,
that
but
few,
I don't know when they released or made the allowance for the rentals, so it could be
Yeah.
something new, I
So
may
this
just
is-
be behind the times.
right. What's that, Mike?
This is in Gables also, then?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Alrighty.
So, I would be, going through the conditions, I would be a fan of at least looking
Yep.
at that. Do you have those with you? Do you have those up on your book right there? The conditions for the STL?
I have them all written right
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would be happy.
So good, Marcia.
I know.
Thank you.
We rely on
Thank
you for
you,
this.
No, I'm more than happy to
Yep.
make a motion.
Please do.
to grant the special exception for application 202400046 from Article 11, that the use for the short-term rental is an authorized use, category number 1, there you go. The request would not put a demand on services. I don't see where having a renter come in when you're not there is going to increase services to the community. Number 3, there are no special provisions, I don't think, that need to be applied for this exception. Allowing this unit in the Gables, first of all, is not going to create a hazard to the health and safety and welfare of the public, because it is a permitted use by Southdown and the Gables. And then the last criteria, which you said is maybe a little controversial, is that granting the such special exception could include a general community benefit, because we're allowing for rentals in the city of Laconia, which we all know we want to see happen. So maybe there's a benefit, we can say there's a benefit for that.
Very good, Marcia. Thank you for your motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jane. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, Eileen and husband, thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Good job. Thank you.
Moving right along, 130 Academy Street, we have two before us tonight, a variance and a special exception. Are you here? Thank you. Come on up, sir. Your name?
I'm Craig Stout, and I live at 130 Academy, and I'm asking for a side setback variance to build a mother-in-law garage where, looking at that picture, where the old shed is right now, I would be bringing that up 10 feet from my back neighbor, so then I would just have one side setback, and then basically demolishing that old structure and building a new mother-in-law garage.
Could you use this diagram to show me exactly what you just said in words? Because I'm a little confused as to
Oh,
where
yeah,
you
yeah.
want to do this, if you wouldn't mind, please. What you want to demolish and where you want to put it.
So on the second,
Yeah.
so on the second driveway, where
Richard?
this is, I would be bringing it up 10 feet, so then I kind of suffice from my back setback. And then I'm asking for this side setback to where I'd be building a 30, new mother-in-law garage.
So in essence, what you're doing is you're taking this, again, it won't go any closer right now.
Yeah.
You're taking that piece right there,
Yep.
yep, and you're expanding it.
I'm expanding it and basically moving the whole thing, so I'm up from this back setback.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And then I just have this one, and,
Yeah.
because this my property, I'm set up that I need a 15-foot setback
yep,
from the
yep,
front.
yep.
Right.
So I'd suffice that, because that's only like to right here,
Right.
and then, I would still, the rest of it would still be obviously on my property.
So this building is coming down,
Yes,
and then you're going to create a new building in this space, which isn't going to be closer to the rear, but the side, you have to have a side.
It's right on it right
It's right
now.
on it
yeah,
now.
it would be basically where this is, on
Uh-huh.
the side, maybe, depending, maybe just a little bit more or less by a couple inches. But that way, it's still lined up with the second driveway.
Understood. So
Can you
right
draw
now, is
right
it-
there, Eric, Craig, where the building is gonna be.
He did,
Oh, yeah, sorry.
yeah,
I didn't see it.
Basically,
and,
I
yeah,
think your pen is dying, but basically right like so.
here.
Oh,
Why
you're
don't you
turning
pass
the other
it
way.
down? Are you using that driveway?
Yes, it's basically a second driveway, which the beauty of this is,
Here.
you can easily park 2-3 cars in that driveway on top of
Roland
another
wants
car
to
in
see
the
that.
structure I'm trying to build, so that way there'll be no more increase of parking on the street.
Are you gonna have, be able to park your bike and your car in there? You gonna have a garage?
Yeah,
And-
it's gonna be a
and
garage with a mother-in-law.
And the mother-in-law above the garage,
Correct.
right on?
Yeah, so with the mother-in-law on top there, and then with a 30 by 30 garage, basically that's a two-car garage.
There's a-
But it would
there's an
just be a
existing
one
garage.
single
So
door.
your side setback right now is what, 0?
It's probably maybe a foot from where that shed is now.
But you'd be keeping in line with what
Yeah.
currently exists?
I'd be keeping in line with that structure right there.
And you would be making it more conforming by moving it off from the rear?
Correct.
And the reason why you can't make it a 10-foot side setback is you want to keep the driveway.
Yeah,
It is a
and that's
garage.
like the big kicker of this is the driveway is in really great shape. You know, it benefits from not adding more cars on the road in front of my house, and then by keeping it lined up and asking for that one variance, it keeps things nicely lined up with that driveway. So that way, I'm still continuing to use it.
So it's pre-existing and non-conforming.
Yes.
And how big is the garage you're going to build?
30 by 30.
How big is the building that's there right now?
I would say it is 15 by probably 15 by 12, something like that. Basically like a
Yeah.
one-car garage, but basically all it houses is skunks right now.
Is there a buffer or barrier or something between the driveway to this pre-existing building and your neighbor to the south?
There's a 4
Or your
foot
neighbor
tall-
to the east?
So there's a 4-foot chain link fence
Fence,
that
okay.
runs basically from
Yeah, understood. Yep.
from my neighbor's,
Yep.
from that corner,
Yep.
that runs all the way down to the front of that
Understood. I see it.
driveway,
Yep.
and then that chain link comes back around.
Understood, okay,
So-
perfect, okay. Have you spoken with your neighbor?
Yeah, I've basically spoken with all of them except for Mr. Dubois, which is right behind me, and he recently passed away. So, but all the other neighbors, Dave and Diane, the house right next to me, which is the setback, he was excited to hear about that because one of the reasons, on top of this is going to be for my actual mother, is just looking at that shed. It's probably almost as old as my house, so it's kind of an eyesore. And I've done everything else to the property to pick it up, to bring it back to its glory days. So this is kind of like the last piece. Is this old chipped paint, rotting shed.
Sure. Last question from me, services, water and sewer, are you going north into the road, or are you going to connect back into the house to be able to get that?
So with that, I've spoken with all the utilities, and the beauty of it is, right in front on the street side of that, there's a power pole there.
Okay.
So talking to the electrical company, that's an easy hookup for electricity there. The water, they would bring in a new water main shot into the house, or underground, new water main there. And then for the waste, I talked to the city, the sewer department, and instead of bringing in a new sewer line to it, because with plumbing code they look for only one tie-in per lot, I would basically be putting in a grinder pump in the
Okay.
slab of the structure, and then
Pumping
bringing a
pumping it to your existing home.
exactly. And then the beauty with that is, when it comes time to do that, I would be replacing my sewer line from my house to the street, because I'm a licensed plumber. So it's kind of a twofold process of upgrading the probably 80-year-old cast iron in the ground, putting a T in there for that line to pump into.
I'm complete, thank you.
Craig, I have a question, and maybe Scott can help us out here. You want,
That's the size of the house. That's the size of the house. So if there's a relative size, I think there
we'll
is.
have to ask. You want this garage to be an ADU, because that's the second variance that we have to vote on tonight after this one, okay? An ADU, maximum square footage is 750 square feet for an ADU. You put in a 30 by 30 garage, that's 900 square feet.
But that's not the ADU, though. The ADU is its own entity within the garage.
Is that going to, it is?
Yep, because the garage space downstairs would be open. The ADU, if they
Is
put it above.
upstairs?
It'd be like if you put an ADU within the house. It's now bigger than the defined amount.
So that's the other thing. So if the garage is 30 by 30, what's the space for your mother gonna be then?
Well, it's going to be obviously significantly smaller because I believe the code is you can't be higher than 30 feet, or 35 feet high. So it would be significantly smaller, but at the same time, it would just.
Because for an ADU, he would have to meet, the building department wouldn't issue the permit unless he met the 350 to 750 square foot definement. So even if he got the special exception, starting on the building permit side, if he's over or under on those,
Okay.
building won't approve
I
it.
just want to know who's going to oversee that,
Well,
because there is no plan here
confusion.
for us
Right, right.
to know what's going to go on,
Yeah,
so
the
I
final.
I would be hesitant to approve something, but if you're telling me it's gonna get captured in planning, then,
Yeah, the building
But-
department has to inspect during and the final.
but he would have to provide plans, wouldn't he?
To the building department, yes.
Are there any other questions of Craig? Go ahead, Mike.
I do have a question, and so your house is basically, what, with a porch on it? We're about 30 by 44, so 1,320 square feet. Is a part of that, formula for the ADU relative to the size of the house? Do I remember something like that, a certain percentage of
No,
the size?
the way, yes, it must, the ADU must be subsidiary in size to the main structure, which it will be. It has to be, I think, no more, I wanna say 25%. You know, it can't be, you can't put a mirror of the home that exists right next to it and call it an ADU.
Right.
Because it has to be diminished in size. And you have to keep in liking to what's there.
That's my question, Scott, is the 900 square feet for the apartment gonna be small enough to fall in the parameter?
Well,
He's saying that's gonna be the
it wouldn't be,
garage.
it wouldn't be built, the apartment has to meet 350 to 750 square feet.
Yeah.
If it doesn't meet that, say, the building inspector goes out that day and it's oversized, it's gonna get shut down.
Well, he's asking for 900. If it's upstairs of the garage, it's gonna be 900 square feet.
Then it can't, it wouldn't meet.
But
the
you
A-
won't be able to fill it all the way up because they won't issue a building permit.
And it wouldn't be, it wouldn't be meeting, if it is 900, it wouldn't be meeting with the ADU guidelines as they are right now, because it is 350 to 750. So he would have to either dial it back to meet that before submitting to the building
Or
department.
have an upstairs porch that would not be like what I'm talking about, like reduce the size to 750 and have a porch off of the kitchen or something. So the building up top of the garage is not 900, it's more.
And honestly, 30 by 30 was just the maximum for the size, because it can be scaled down to a 24 by 24 to hit that parameter, so that I'm within that.
I'm also a little concerned about building right to the property line. I hate to diminish your project, but you're tearing down a building and you're building new.
Yep.
I hate to, I'm willing to bend a little bit, but I don't wanna go right to the property line. I think, a 5-foot buffer, instead of 10 feet would be acceptable. I know you don't want the building to come too close to is that a built-in pool in the backyard?
What's that?
Or a deck in the backyard? What is that?
Oh, it's a pool in the.
I know you don't want the building too close to that, and you want to utilize the driveway, but you're tearing down a structure, putting up a new one. I'm willing to go halfway with a 5-foot off of the property line. But I hate to see the building go right to the property line myself. That's just how I feel.
Okay. I mean, 5 foot isn't a make or break either. Like I'm willing to work.
That's
with
why
that.
it's 10 foot is what it's called for, but I could see with the driveway already being there, you want to utilize that driveway. But going right to the line is something that we're trying to avoid.
Yeah,
for
I
new
had
construction.
0 setback with a group next to me, and it's just annoying.
The beauty of how that's designed is, basically it's their garage to mine. So the good thing is, on my neighbor's side where I'm asking for the variances, I'm not on their actual side with that, where they sleep and
Right,
reside.
that's their
Whi-
garage.
Which is beneficial to everybody.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying.
But,
Setting back 5 feet, like I said, that's totally doable.
so,
That wouldn't,
that being said, Craig, have a seat.
that Article 6?
I have to ask if there's any members of the public that would like to speak for this application or against, sir? You're the only one here. Oh, shucks. I thought we'd had a taker. That being passed, or declined, I should say. Let's further discussion amongst the board.
I have concerns that, we have two variants here, two requests. We have to give him the side setback before he can do the ADU.
Right.
Okay. I find that the application for the ADU, I thought was not very specific. There weren't any diagrams. I just felt that there wasn't it should have had more information for me to make a decision. I thought it was kind of an incomplete, application. This one for the variance for the side setback, I'm with you. I don't wanna see it up against, right up against the boundary. And I don't know how that's going to affect his project, but,
Okay, so the ADU, if they meet the criteria, we actually can't say no.
but how do you know he meets the criteria? He didn't give you any diagram. There's no dimensions.
But
How
he
do you
will.
know that?
He will. Scott's working on that.
Well, the criteria is, the state has mandated that everybody is allowed. That's the criteria.
To me, you have to show that you're meeting what the criteria is. Why should I just, because the state says somebody comes in here and wants an ADU, you stamp it without any kind of information diagram? We know that it can't be any more than 750 feet. And anybody who's brought it before us before has been given us a more of
A plan.
a plan of what they're gonna do.
A blueprint.
And a blueprint of what they're gonna do, where it's gonna be, et cetera. And there's none of that for the ADU.
Fair point. But at the end of the day, the zoning board doesn't care, we have no jurisdiction over construction. That's not we are land use only, that is all the zoning board. So we pass this on. The planning will take care of all of that.
Well, then why bother to bring an ADU before the zoning board then?
That is being looked upon as early as today.
Yeah, back a couple of years ago, Dean Tethethrin mentioned they were going to bypass the zoning board
Yeah.
for ADUs because
Mm-hmm.
if they meet the criteria, we can't say no.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
they don't bother the people to come in before
Right.
us. So that being said,
But we're not there yet.
Right.
true.
Right.
So Craig is here before us tonight, and I'm inclined to approve it, the ADU, and he's willing to compromise halfway with us on the side setback. So,
So I have a question, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
The legality, excuse me, let me back up. He has a pre-existing structure that is there.
Mhm.
Regardless of the quality of it or the construction of it, it is there and it has been there.
Yeah.
Does the applicant have standing to be able to replace it where it is as it is?
In kind.
In kind.
In like and in kind.
Okay, so does the city, so with that said, does the city have a zoning, a rule, a mandate to say, okay, when replacing in kind, your word, you are allowed to expand up to a certain percentage?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so I'm in agreement with you guys to say that, look, to have a little bit of a buffer, but I do think that the applicant does have legal standing to be able to put something back exactly where it is as it is.
But what about this statement? Any
If he
new
was-
construction must meet new setback and green area.
Yeah, if he was building.
Is that zoning or is that his application?
This, no,
Mm,
this
That's
is, it's in
the,
the
that's
ordinance.
the
If he
zoning
was
table.
building the tool shed over again,
Right.
he could put the tool shed back where it is, but he's not building the tool shed, he's building a garage with an
Understood, okay,
apartment up
all right,
top.
fair point, okay, thank you for
Yeah.
that. So my second question as, along with that, so for it to be a stand-alone ADU, does the city have anything to say about that? So here's what my thinking is, okay, the mom comes in, moves in, all well and good. 15 years from now, the situation changes, and now there's a vacant apartment there.
Mhm.
Again, it's on the onus of the city and on the onus of the owner to be able to manage that in a responsible way.
Yep.
Does the so backing up, does the city have anything to say about the qualities of a standalone ADU?
As long as it meets the way it's crafted in the city's ordinance,
Perfect,
is their stance behind it.
right.
The state has its
To say,
writings.
got it, yeah.
Our ordinance was adopted
Yep.
coming off of that, and as long as they meet that criteria of the 350 to 750
Sure.
being subsidiary to the primary, and again, the ordinance is as it reads.
Okay, cool. That's cool.
If he falls out of line in any of that,
That's a different issue.
Yep.
Mike, is the ADU gonna be on the garage floor, or is it going to be above?
Above the
Okay,
garage.
it's gonna be above. All right, so in construction, if it's gonna be above, it's not gonna be a two-floor, is it?
Second story
A
ADU.
full second floor?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So if he were to reduce the size of this down to a 24 by 30, then he would be just under.
Well, he could even put a 30 by 30 garage, but the upstairs apartment would have to have a niche in it
I see what you're saying.
Make it
Okay, gotcha. I got you.
down to the 750 front.
That's why you were saying what you
Right.
were saying. Okay, I got you.
And then he would be legal,
Right.
and there's nothing we can say about it.
Right. Okay, but if you were to make it 24 by 30, and again, we're not speaking with him at this moment,
If we're
but
calling it 720,
yeah, it'd be 720 at 34 by 30, and then.
And then you'd be much more in compliance with,
Yeah, for sure, yeah. So what if we were to, again, make an exception, say, let's make it the 5-foot setback, meet him halfway, he seemed to be agreeable to
Mhm.
that. Let's put the size at 20, see if he's agreeable to the 24 by 30. That way, it makes it meet all the way around.
well, if he wants to go 30 by 30, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
As long as the upstairs apartment has a niche in it to make it smaller. You understand what I mean, Roland? You look confused.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah, I got you, like
How
an
about a
exterior
staircase?
stairwell that
Right.
comes off that,
right.
an exterior
How about if
egress
we
from the
put a
top.
staircase inside instead of outside?
Say that, Roland?
A staircase.
Oh, yeah.
Fair point.
That,
Yep.
yeah.
For sure. That-
Staircases take up a
actually,
lot
that-
of space.
Actually, that would actually work really well.
Yeah.
And maybe we could make
And
that
it's
recommendation to
better.
him.
So,
Okay,
Seasonal.
So you have to
better.
have two motions.
yes,
The first one for the side setback.
right. So the variance first and then the special exception second.
I would
Yep.
entertain a motion for a variance to go 5 feet setback instead of 10 that is required by statute zoning.
Mike, you wanna do it?
I guess so.
Right.
Thank you.
I was gonna say.
Mr. Foot.
All right, we are looking for a, where's my page 2 on this?
This one,
Here.
that's the application.
So,
Number.
2447, yeah, there I am.
Yeah.
Item 12.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm good there. 20240047, I see what it is, just my
Yep.
pages are different. We're looking for variation from section 6, 235-35B side setback. We're looking to have a 0 setback, but it's an agreement that we will, split the difference and go halfway from the 10 that's required to 5-foot setback in the interest of the project. Granting the variance will not be contrary to the public interest. This is an existing building already, it's going to be an upgrade. the spirit of the ordinance would be observed, cause there's been some leeway here. We're not pushing for the full 10 feet. It is also going to become more conforming on the rear setback, so I would see that as an advantage. The value of the surrounding properties should not be diminished. And, granting the variance would do substantial justice because it would allow us to, move on to our next one, which is gonna be an ADU. It'd be upgrading the building, and so you would not take away from the surrounding properties. There's no unnecessary hardship, but we recognize that these things are allowed by the state to be constructed, and it will absorb parking on the street, so an advantage to the neighborhood. And once again, 5-foot setback written into that.
Got it.
Thank you, Mike. I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jane. Any further discussion? 5-foot setback is printed.
Got it.
Agreeable to everybody? All in favor?
Aye?
Unanimous. Thank you, folks. Moving right along
To the
to,
Am I getting it?
The special exception.
Special
section for an accessory dwelling unit.
I think we're ready for motion.
I'm looking for the criteria for that.
That's what,
Marcia?
Is it,
that as submitted.
well, there isn't anything really
Yeah,
there.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, which upsets me. I don't like things incomplete.
Yeah, I like plans.
Hmm?
I like plans.
Is this the one, Marcia? The back page of the ad?
Yeah, I've got it. Thank you, Scott.
Nice.
I'll be glad to make a motion for the special exception for application 2020-40045, special exception for an ADU at 130 Academy Street. Number one, the request is authorized in this chapter. Yes, it is, so therefore we meet criteria number one. The request will not create undue traffic congestion or undue pedestrian safety. And as Craig has indicated, it has its own driveway, so it's not going to, we'll be getting cars and everything off the street, so there won't be any pedestrian congestion. The request will not overload the public water, drainage, or sewer. I believe Craig indicated in his description about how the water and sewer was going to be handled and upgraded, so that's wonderful that it will be doing that. And the request will not create any excessive demand for the police fire protection. We have not heard from police or fire that it's going to be a problem, so therefore I don't think there's gonna be any undue request for those city services. And they'll see, any special provisions for the ADU is that it must meet whatever the planning board says it must meet.
Thank you for adding that.
Yeah, and if the planning board says it's 750 square feet maximum, then that's what it's gonna be. So whatever the planning board decides must be adhered to. Then let's see, the request will not create hazards to health, safety, or public general welfare. Again, this is just an apartment for his one person, his mom. So I don't see where there's gonna be a problem. And the proposed location is appropriate. Above the garage is a very common use for an ADU. So I think it will be an appropriate place to have one.
Thank you, Marcia.
You're
For
welcome.
that motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Foote. Any further discussion? All good with it? Marcia explained the criteria well.
Perfectly.
All in favor?
Aye?
Unanimous. Very good, Craig. Enjoy your new apartment. Scott, thank you for helping us with the meeting tonight. Is there any other business before the board?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Wow, that was
With the
fast.
sun, or?
Yeah.
Thank you for coming. It's-
Yeah, of
It's
course.
nice to have representation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you have any